Hey guys, so today I'll be showing you how to stabilize your videos in DaVinci Resolve 15. So stabilizing your footage in DaVinci Resolve 15 is pretty easy, but there are still some things that you need to know about it to make sure that your videos look perfect. So let's get straight into them. Okay, so here we have the clips that we're going to be stabilizing in today's video. So here we have one shot which is just a handheld shot of me filming Baby Groot and Harry Potter, and it's just, as you can see here, it's quite shaky and it's not that well stabilized because I literally filmed this with my hands. So let's try and stabilize these. So to stabilize, you go onto the color page and then you go onto the tracker, which is on the middle icon here. Down here, make sure that's on the stabilizer, and then here is how you stabilize it. So pretty much it's just as simple as pressing stabilize. And then this will analyze all your shots and track it, and it will stabilize the shot for you. So as you can see here, down here we have the tracking data, and that's because this shot isn't it doesn't move around a load. The tracking data is quite linear. So this is what it is with the tracker, and then this is what it's like without it. As you can see, it's made a massive improvement. So you're probably wondering what these settings down here do. So I'm going to tell you about it right now. So the cropping ratio is pretty much how cropped in the shot is, because when you stabilize it, your shot is cropped in a tiny bit. So if we unpress zoom here, you're able to see up in this in the corner that this bit just jutters around quite a lot, and you can see that it just jutters in and out. Now this zoom pretty much just crops into the video a little bit, and then it just gets to get rid of that little juttering. So you're able to change this, you're able to make it so it's much more zoomed in, you're able to make it so it's much more zoomed out. But with this you get different results. It really depends on your shot, because you just have to mess around with the cropping ratio and the zoom to make sure that it looks perfect. I think 0.5 looks the best, and it's just a nice medium with it. Now what does the smooth do? This pretty much is how smooth your shot is going to be. Now as again, this clip here that I have isn't the best example of it, because there's not much movement in the shot, and as you can see here, there's literally, the camera doesn't move at all when it's at 1%, but when it's at 0.5 it moves quite a bit more. As you can see, it kind of in the corners here. So I'm going to put it at 1 because I think that looks the best. So there are problems that you can get with stabilizing your videos in post-production. First of all, you can get lens distortion, which is where you just get these weird movements in your stabilized shot, and it just looks a bit like morphing or something like that. And then also you get motion blur. Now the way to get rid of lens distortion is by making sure that when you film the shot, it's already stabilized, and which means that you don't have to stabilize it in post-production. So this is by getting one of those DJI sticks which have like a gimbal on the top of it, or you can get a Ronin, which is a big gimbal, and these just pretty much stabilizes the camera before the light hits the sensor and it's recorded. It just makes the shot look much better, and you don't get any of this weird lens distortion. Now another problem that you can get is motion blur. Now motion blur is caused by your shutter speed. So if you have a really slow shutter speed, the motion blur when you move stuff is quite high, but if you have a higher shutter speed, there's not any motion blur, and it looks much more crisp when you move stuff, when stuff moves very fast. So if you want to make sure that you don't have any motion blur in your videos, have a very high shutter speed so there isn't any motion blur in your videos. But the problem with that is that it just doesn't look as natural, and it just looks a bit odd, and because everything's in really high detail, but it makes it better to stabilize. So moving on to the next thing down here is that we have the camera lock. Now this is if you want to make the effect that the camera is sat on a tripod and it's not moving at all. So if you just press this, press stabilize, and then it just looks like it's on a tripod, it's not moving at all. But again, with this you get lens distortion, and it can morph a bit, and it just doesn't look that natural. So sometimes just using the normal stabilizer where there's a tiny bit of movement is better than using the camera lock where there's like no movement but there's a bit of morphing with the videos. Now there are different bits of data that the trackers can track to make it stabilized. So if you go down here into this drop box, you have perspective, similarity and translation. stabilisation. Now these use different bits of data to track. So the perspective uses the pan, tilt, zoom and roll to make it stabilised, and then the similarity uses exactly the same thing, but it goes through each frame and sees if there's any motion blur and makes the motion blur look a bit more natural. And then the translation only uses the pan and the tilt bits of data in your videos. Okay guys, so that is it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you now know how to stabilise your footage in DaVinci Resolve 15. If you've enjoyed this video, give it a like, and if you're new here and you like what you see and want to see more DaVinci Resolve 15 tutorials, subscribe to this channel. I make videos every week about DaVinci Resolve 15, and yeah, I hope you enjoyed. I hope you now know how to stabilise your footage, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.